Rock and fucking roll, right?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this might be a 10-minute podcast or a 5-hour podcast. One of my good friends, he's really a man who has done it all in the entertainment business, from childhood actor to elite casting director to hockey fan extraordinaire to now a country western star. And I just watched his video that will be debuted sooner than later on the Earl Skakel channel. Oh Lord, save me! And let me tell you
Yeah.
something. It's an attention grabber. Mr. Matt Berry, welcome back.
Earl, it is such a pleasure to be here, to be with you, to see you, and congratulations on all your success. You deserve it.
I mean, I don't think I have to tell you how crazy this business is, but sometimes I wish people would accuse me of something. I'd get better spots.
I've often thought of that. It's like, I had more fun being controversial than, than being normal.
I mean, I think P. Diddy would get more spots than me right now, but
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
so I don't even know where to start. Well, let's do the music first because
Okay.
I had no idea of your musical background. And when you sent me the clip of the video, I'm not going to lie to you. We both know people who dabble in music or comedy, and it's not very good. I really like the song and the video. What got you into this music world?
So this is life is strange, and so everybody who's listening out there, I grew up in New York, and when I was a kid, when I was 17 years old, I had a band, and from 17 to 19, I played all the clubs. It was a really bad, punk psychedelic band called Grand Illusion. We weren't very good, but we had a lot of fun, and we played CBGBs, we played the Ritz, and all the clubs in New York, and I had such a great time. At the same time, I had starred in this Bernardo Bertolucci film called Luna, and that was giving me all sorts of notoriety and publicity. And so that kind of took priority, and they wanted me to come out to Los Angeles and pursue my acting career. So I kind of put the music aside. Cut to 40 years later, I get a call out of the blue from an XXXXXXXXX girlfriend, and she says, "Hey, do you still have those punk tapes that you recorded from CBGBs?" I go, "Yeah, in my garage somewhere. They're on cassette." And she's like, "Can you get them?" I was like, "Okay." So I go to my garage, I get them, transfer them to MP3, and I send them to her. And I listened to them, and I was like, "Oh, okay. I wrote some pretty good songs back in the day." So then I get a call out of the blue. They're like, "Hey, is this Matt Berry?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Are these your songs?" I said, "Yeah." He said, can I have them?" I'm like, "Who is this?" And he's like, "Oh, sorry, dude. My name is Danny Saber." And I was like, "Danny Saber." I said, "Dude, I have your records. I know who you are." I was like, "What do you want with me?" He goes, "I'm working with this punk band. I love your songs. Can I have them?" I was like, "Yeah, do whatever the hell you want with them." So we started talking, and we knew every, music wise, I knew the bands he was in, I knew everybody he produced. I mean, he produced the Rolling Stones, he produced Bowie, he produced Madonna. I mean, he's produced Ozzy, and so I'm figuring, what the hell does he want with me? So I go and meet him at his studio, and he's this really, really cool cat. And so he says, "So, so what are you playing? What are you playing?" I was like, I haven't played, since the CBGB days." And he says, "Well, what do you got? Show me what you got." So I start messing around on a guitar, and he goes, "Oh, hold on." And he starts, he turns on his console. He goes, "Oh, play that." And so I start playing this lick, and he adds a little bass to it, and he puts some, backbeat to it, and he sends me home with a half-assed demo. And then I say to him, I say, it was right when I had broken up with my longtime girlfriend, and I got really, really angry. And so I wrote the first song on the album called Gold Digger. And I called Danny up and I said, hey, Danny, what do you charge me to record a song? He goes, oh, I like you, dude. Come on down to the studio. So I play him this thing, and he goes, hang on, this is a hit. Hang on. So he gets really into it, and we record this amazing, amazing song about my ex-girlfriend, and it just let the genie out of the bottle. And all of a sudden, 40 years worth of material just started pouring out of me. And I was like, hey, Danny, he goes, I got to charge you for this stuff. So I said, that's okay. He goes, oh, well, I'd like to produce you. I said, sure, absolutely. So I wrote these 7 songs, and just, I've had the time of my life, Earl. I'm just having the greatest time.
I could.
And it's like it's for all of you, your followers out there. It's never too late. It really isn't. And I'd heard something that Prince said once, hence the purple today.
Love it.
And Prince said, I don't make music for my fans, I make music for me. And so I did all of this basically for me at great expense, of course. But what the hell? We only live once. And like I said, I've had the greatest time. So I encourage everybody, to go for your dreams, even if it's 40 years too late. I'm having a blast.
Well, I mean, I'm a big Stallone fan, and he's like maybe the greatest example of being shut down at every turn in his early
Yeah.
days. I think one casting director said, nobody's going to want to look at your face. Like, goes to the next one. Yeah, no one's going to understand you because of his, I think when he was born, the umbilical cord was around his throat, basically. It goes to the next one. We'll make Rocky, but we don't want you in it. Like, I really believe
Right.
in, like, if you believe in yourself, and you have to in this business, uh, you can do whatever you want. I mean, here you are, an accomplished actor, an elite casting director. I'm sure most people will be like, bro, you're not going to make it in the music world. Come on. You're in your 50s. Come on. It's over, Johnny. And
Right,
look at
right,
you.
sure.
Look how happy you are.
Yeah, yeah.
So, just
And it's funny you bring up Stallone, because I was doing a movie with Sly, and he called it. We were about to do this movie with Sly and Ice Cube, and he calls up and he goes, "Hey fellas, sorry, but I gotta do my show. So if you can wait for me for next year." So we've had a good time with Sly. I love Sly.
I'm his biggest fan. Like, this is a guy I don't think there's an actor in the history of the world who has had hit, bomb, hit, bomb. Like, he alternates, you know, like even with the Expendables. First one, big hit. Second one, pretty good. Third one, okay. I watched the fourth one last night. It was pretty wrong. I gotta be honest with you. And like
Hey Earl, I got paid.
no, I mean, it's my dream to interview him and not talk about Rocky, not talk about Rambo. I want to talk about Nighthawks and Cobra. And
There you go. Of course.
but like, so what's the plan? Because you have 4 videos. Joe Strummer, I believe, which is a Buzzcocks cover, which I love. I don't want to be like you, behind the scenes, and the video that we will debut on my channel when I figure out how to not get dinged for, YouTube's so weird with music and how they ding channels. I just want to make sure you don't take my channel down. But so all these are on YouTube right now for people to go see on your channel.
Yeah, it's on the Big Mouth Barry channel.
So subscribe to Matt's channel. Like, watch these videos. The debut of a very funny. How would you describe the video you sent me? Can you talk about the one that's not out, the single that's not out yet?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm not a big religious person. I mean, I grew up with an Irish Catholic father and a Jewish mother, and I grew up in New York, and so which means I drink cheaply or I drink and feel guilty about it, right? But um sorry, I know you're the joke writer here.
Not
But but my mom said, here, here's the synagogue, and my dad said, here's the church, and they said, what do you think? I said, can I just go play baseball? And they're like, yeah, sure. So I never really grew up with a big religious background, but I was watching this video one day, and it was this guy who had robbed a liquor store, and a cop had seen it, as they were passing by, and pulled up, and he ran out of the store, and they surrounded him, and he had, put his hands up. And it just got me thinking. It's just like all the people that just need saving. And it just came out of me, this song. And it really is a religious song written by someone who's not religious, but it came from my heart. Of all the people that just need a chance to be saved. And it's called "Oh Lord, Save Me." And I wrote it in a day. I recorded it. I recorded that live with Danny, and it just hit. And he was like, we did 2 takes. We did 2 takes of the song, and that's what we hear. And then we added, some instrumentation on it. And it's the one that really touches me. I mean, because most of the album is like, it's punk, it's ska, it's got a lot of different songs on it, but this one really, it really touched me. And Ron, who's my wonderful business partner, is the character in the video. And we decided, he's shedding everything that we think is what is worthy of our lives. And in the end, we're just, we're born again. And so I think that's kind of, the kind of like, help me, save me, Lord up there, what, who's ever up there, help me out here. I've led a bad life. I've done some bad things. My family doesn't want anything to do with me. Where else can I turn to? And a lot of people do. If you talk to people, who are incarcerated, it's just like, it gives them time. And they're like, oh man, yeah, I gotta find a higher power, whether it's Jesus or whatever higher power they choose. And it was just a song that just hit me. And literally, I wrote the song in a day. And it was just, and it's one of my favorites.
Well, I love the video because it's simplicity at its finest. It's just, I mean, I don't want to give it away because I want people to watch it, but it's just, there's no CGI, there's no, bombs or explosions or Tawny Katane in the background with her, boobies hanging out. It's the end of the video is like, I'm watching it now. It's something like,
Yeah, yeah, it's pure. You kind of, it's got a little bit of a shock value, but it's pure.
yeah,
And
but
it's again, I don't want to give it away, but it's just shedding everything that we believe in, and just being pure,
well, I
which is
love,
hard.
well, it is. And I love the message of it. And I don't want to give it away, but like he's getting rid of like nice things he has on and money. And like at the end of the day, or at the end of the video, you'll see when you watch it, we're just ourselves with nothing, no material possessions.
Yeah,
So it's kind of a
yeah,
deep meaning. Like it's so simple, but I love the message behind it.
yeah. It's thanks, and it's dear to me. And it's funny. It's just like, I put this, in amongst these kind of, I wouldn't say hardcore songs, but it's got some, rock and roll punk, my roots, that I grew up in.
Well, how do you, and like we're the same age, I remember when Poison, let's say Poison, they put an album out, they put because their best hit ever was about a girl who had cheated on Bret Michaels. You know, uh,
Right.
every rose has its thorn. So similar to your, I mean, I know your song wasn't about cheating, but gold digging, I've been there. Uh, and so he turned his,
I think every guy has. Every guy who's watching this or listening to this, I think we've all been there, man. Where it's like, we think, oh my God, this is her, this is the one, this is great, and then all of a sudden our bank account is empty.
I mean, well, especially in the city we live in, you know, I'm not around women my age. I'm around either comics or actresses, and I know you are as well. You
Yeah.
know, I don't know where 55-year-old women hang out, but it's not around me. Um, so, you meet younger, less established people, and then there's a power dynamic of, oh, this guy's got money to take me to Spago or whatever. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
But unless you're Dane Cook, you can't take him there every night. Well, actually, I don't know
Yeah.
if he could either right now, but I just Poison put out a video. It got popular on MTV. They blow up. They tour. How do you market music in this day and age when MTV doesn't really play videos?
It's all word of mouth now. I mean, it's the Danny, hooked me up with this wonderful new record distribution outlet called Good Tunes, and it was started by this gentleman Bill Dank and his associates, and we're of they love giving back to the artists, whereas Spotify, you don't make any money. I mean,
Zero.
I've been listening to all the rap artists going, where's my money? Why am I not making any money? How can artists make any money? It's Beyonce just put out her new album, and it's number one on Spotify. I was like, great, she made $1,700. It's so we're keeping it off streaming, we're keeping it off of iTunes, and we're just having it on Good Tunes. And I think it's a great way to I've always been the opposite of, if you can't beat them, join them. It's like, no, if you can't beat them, get a bigger bat.
Yeah.
you know so I've always been a fighter. So I liked the concept, trying something new. I hope it works. I'm in on the ground floor, and I think I believe in Bill and his team, and I think it's going to be a very, very successful venture once everybody comes on board. Snoop Dogg has been complaining forever. He's like, "Where's my money? Where's my money?" Well, come aboard, Snoop. They give back. Almost everything to the artist. So the artist actually makes some money. And look, I didn't do this, to make a lot of money to get rich. I did this because I wanted to, make some music and hopefully have some people hear it. By the way, it's $10. It's the cost of a chai latte, a venti chai latte. Um, but but it's like where can you get an album these days for $10? And it's like, and listen to the whole album. It's like, no, you can't just pay 99 cents and buy one song. No, listen to the whole concept. Frank Zappa's albums were about concept. Led Zeppelin's albums were about concept, from start to finish. So it's all got a theme, and that's kind of where I'm at with this. So I don't MTV hasn't been MTV for 30 years. So it's like we all put out our own videos, and we all try and we're all trying to get a little slice, and it's great because it means all these wonderful independent artists like myself have a chance to be heard, and if people like it, they'll find it. It's like, look at movies that be that you didn't think were, Porky's. Do you think Porky's was going to be a big hit? But it's like people wanted to see it. It'll find its audience.
By the way, speaking of Porky's, I don't mean to bring the mood down, but rest in peace to Tony Ganos, aka Meat, Anthony
Yeah.
Tuparello. Like, I'm getting sad, man. In the past, say, 2 months, Apollo Creed died. I mean,
Yeah.
Carl Weathers.
Yeah. Was a great guy, by the way.
Oh, I mean, he's so much more than Apollo Creed to me.
Yeah.
Who Anthony Tuparello, Tony Ganos, Paul D'Amato from Slapshot, who
Yeah. Right.
I
Right.
mean, he was probably my favorite scene in Deer Hunter. It was just two lines, when he's in the bar drinking and they were all kind of egging him on. And I forget his lines in the movie, but it was so powerful. And a couple other people have M. Emmett Walsh. Just
Yeah.
You must have casted him in 20 films.
I don't know if I don't know if I ever got to work with Mehmet. I'm trying to think. I've got a funny Carl Weathers story.
Let's hear it,
Uh,
please.
we were playing on the Hollywood All Stars baseball team, and we were both in the outfield. And there was a line drive in between the both of us, and I'm calling, I got it, I got it, I got it. Then all of a sudden, I'm out. I'm just, I'm, I'm waking up. Everybody's standing around me, and I had collided with Carl and got knocked out, and he was just, and I was like, "Are you okay?" He was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." It's like he was a tree trunk, and I just collided with Carl and knocked myself out, and he was just like,
Get
"Okay,
up, get up, you lazy bastard. I mean,
yeah,
just,
yeah, exactly."
so many like Predator and was it Semi Tough with Burt Reynolds, like just Force 10 from Navarone. I mean, he was, and even in his later years, I think he was in that Dick Wolf, it's like Chicago, some law, one of those Law and Order spinoffs, and he was the DA. I was like, wow, he's still working. I mean, to be a 50-year working actor, as you know, it's almost
Yeah,
unheard of.
yeah,
So we're getting to that age where people we liked watching, growing up watching, whether it be musicians or movie stars, they're dying at like a pretty serious clip.
yeah. I mean, it happened. I mean, it's funny. I was talking to my son, and I just seen Bruce Springsteen down in San Diego, and I asked him, if he wanted to go to the show, up here. And my son's 17 years old, and I said, "Do you want to go see the show up here in L.A.?" And he goes, "Who's Bruce Springsteen?"
Find that's
You
great.
know,
Like,
so, so it's like, yeah, yeah, Earl. I hope that the people who are watching this, listening to this, really get to know their uh their old actors, the old timers, the old musicians.
I mean, yeah, I mean,
Otherwise I'm going to be like, it's like, our parents were like whatever happened to Big Bop and brass bands, and
I
it's
know
like,
it's.
who's Bill Haley in the Comets?
I was talking to someone last night at Jones. I'm sure you've been to Jones every
Oh,
now
I
and
lived there. I lived there. I was working at the studio across the street. I was doing Con Air, Mars Attacks, and She's So Lovely at the same time, and literally lived at
then.
Jones.
I mean, you were in Con Air, weren't you, as the medicine man, right?
I was.
And were you responsible for casting Marty McSorley as the pilot?
I did cast Marty. I still talk to him to this day.
Oh, I
Yeah,
had a few interactions with him, and all of them. Like, he's an interesting guy.
yeah. He's a fun guy.
I remember eating breakfast next to him once at this like bodybuilding restaurant and right by Gold's Gym. And this is when the Kings had Troy Crowder and uh
Sure.
for I think a year. That was in the dark era of the Kings.
Yeah, number 51, I believe.
55. He was the original 55.
There you
And
go.
I said to Marty, "Hey, how come Crowder's not that aggressive?" And he literally dropped his fork. He grabbed me by the shirt. He's like, "He's a fucking pussy. I've told him you got to get going, man. Your career's only 4 years. Get going, bro." And like, he was really intense. Like, wasn't expecting that kind of reaction, but and you're a huge hockey fan, like, which is how I know you. Um,
Yep.
and there is a big game tonight. Uh-oh.
And I brought my game worn Lazat jersey with the global
Love it.
series. So
I mean, well, I
so
should have you got me the all-time game worn bargain when you called me up frantically. I'm like, oh man, he's gonna get me into a movie. I was so fucking excited. I mean, I can't act, but that doesn't stop a lot of people. And I'm like, oh, he's gonna finally help me. And hey Earl, there's a Denny Gaudier shirt for $100 in the team store. And I still have it too.
nice.
What
I was just I was just looking at the ones I had purchased. I was like, oh my God, did I really buy, a Ladislav Nagy jersey?
I mean, you get caught up in the excitement of like, hey, this guy wore this, and that
Yeah.
particular Denny Gautier jersey. He was involved in a bench clearing brawl in Buffalo. I think he was it Patrick Coletta went after Jarrett Stoll, and then Gautier just sucker punched him really for no reason. But we got a big game tonight.
Yeah.
Big, and I know you. I'm obsessed with PL Dubois, as you can see. I don't have a game worn jersey, but I do have a PL Dubois pen. And
There you go.
even when I bought it at the team store, the guy's like, "Why are you buying that?" I'm like, I don't know. Even the guy at the team store doesn't like him. Your
Yeah.
thoughts on the Kings Jets trade so far? If you had to analyze it, we got Dubois, the Jets got Velarde, my good buddy Iafallo, Kapari, and a second round pick. What's your analysis of that trade right now?
Right now, it's a bust. Um, back then you have to make that trade. Rob Blake has to make that trade. I mean, it's if Quentin was not going to be slotted into the third line center role, which is we drafted him as a center. Otherwise, we should have taken the other kid. Um, you have to make that trade. Big center. Velarde was breaking out, sure, but Velarde was, he's a bit of a China doll. Um, Iafallo was making $4 million a year for 20 points. Kupari didn't really, he's very fast, but doesn't have any hands. You have to make that trade. At the time, great trade. Of course, everybody from Winnipeg and Columbus was saying, you have no idea what you're getting yourselves into. And they were right. They were right. Now, granted, he's had a rookie on his wing, and then he hasn't had Arvidsson on his wing the entire year. He's had JAD and who else, on
Everybody.
his wing. Yeah. So it's like, when he was with Columbus and he had good players, on his wing. When he was with Winnipeg, he had good players on his wing. He doesn't have scorers on his wing. Now, granted, you watch him and everybody had said, yeah, he's lazy, he doesn't battle, and I find that to be true. I don't see him battling. I don't see him, working the boards like Kopitar does. And he's been a big disappointment. And now I'm of the mindset of, hey, can we trade him to Pittsburgh for Carlson, who's not working out there? Can we trade him to Montreal, who needs a center? Can we who can we where can we deal him to? Can we deal him to? I don't know if that Bruins rumor was true for Allmark, but they could certainly use a big center. I mean, look, Pittsburgh just lost Gensel. So, can you trade him for Pittsburgh to, get rid of trade him for Carlson? I'll take Carlson and Doughty on the same power play blue line. So he's been a disappointment. But look, they got him for the playoffs. Let's see what happens. I wasn't impressed with him against Edmonton the other night. I think he's going to be fired up tonight, as is Velarde. So it should be a very interesting game.
I mean, I look at Dubois, he's like the girlfriend, or if you're a girl, the boyfriend who cheats on you constantly. And every person after that person who got cheated on is like, they're not going to cheat on me. I'm different. And like, I think with the Kings, they thought he's going to play a two-way game for us. He didn't do it in Columbus. He didn't do it in Winnipeg. And he
Yeah,
got a free pass in Columbus because Tortorella, who I love, his interviews are the best.
I love Tortorella.
He's not known as a player's coach, so I think maybe it was Tortorella. And then, in Winnipeg, maybe it was Bonus. He's not exactly going to win any personality awards, but now he's 25 years old. He's on his third team. That's not a good sign. And he's having the same problems with, I guess, McClellan and Hillier to a degree. Uh, and it's just so frustrating with him because, like that game against Minnesota, if he plays like that against the Oilers, I'm down with that. Like,
Yeah.
he's agitating, he gets Faber, get the fuck out of my face, Faber. Like, doesn't fight Hartman, which I don't think he should have. Do you think he should have dropped the gloves?
Yeah, I do.
Well, here's the only
I
reason I
do.
say he shouldn't have, because the fans hate him right now. They, he can do no right. And
Nope.
you know King fans as well as I do. If he fights Hartman in a 6-0 game, they're going to say, I'm going to use a pro wrestling term. He's going into business for himself.
Hmm.
So, but if he doesn't fight like he didn't, he's a pussy. So I don't know. Like you said, if we got him for the playoffs, and I hope we make them. That's no guarantee. So
Well,
yeah,
when St. Louis loses at home to the Blues, I go, okay, you know, I'm just hoping that Vancouver doesn't blow the top seed, because then the Kings play the Oilers again. Now, granted, I don't mind playing the Oilers again because third time's a charm, but I'm kind of bored of seeing playing the Oilers again. Plus, I'd love the Oilers and Vegas to beat the crap out of each other. So
I mean,
so I'd like to. I mean, it's like Dallas is going to be tough, but I think we match up well with Vancouver.
the only thing that concerns me is our lack of grit. And I don't mean fighting. You
Yeah,
know, we don't
yeah,
have that player who hops over
nope.
the boards and you're like, oh shit, he's out. Head up. We don't have a Gudis on defense or um, even a Rempe, like, which sounds crazy because he's known for the fighting, but I was watching the game the other night, and every time he hopped over the boards, he affected the defenseman on the other team because he's a decent skater. Uh, I really hope that need is addressed in the off season. I don't know who's available.
Look, he didn't. Blake didn't address that. That's what he should have addressed. I mean, it's like, look, we don't have a Jordan Nolan back there. You don't have a Muzzin back there. You don't have Clifford. It's like those guys came over the board with Clifford and Nolan came over the board. You were like, oh
Yeah,
no, we don't have that. You've got Lazat
bitch.
running around. It's funny. You know what we call him? We've nicknamed him. I hope it takes on. If I mention it, we call him Cocaine Bear.
Well, uh, I love the guy's heart, but
Yeah,
at some point, it's this era is just um, the average size of a player is for the most part 6'1", 6'2", 200 pounds.
yeah,
Um,
they're big
and
boys.
I want to protect my source here, but I had heard over the summer someone whispered into my ear at the Comedy Store, "Hey, the Kings are kicking tires on Tom Wilson," and
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
I heard
I'm
that as well.
I'm assuming because he makes 5 million, it's just there was no wiggle room to
Well,
step.
he had signed the extension. I think that was one of the caveats for him re-signing. It was, hey, we're either going to trade you to the Kings or you can resign. And I'm sure he wanted to just stay where he was.
I would have thought, the Caps are probably at the end of their whatever they
Yeah,
can do.
but they've had a resurgence.
Yeah, Ovechkin's turned it around. But we need our own Tom Wilson, whether it be, I don't know if these guys are available, but like Kyle Frederick, in Boston, uh, Garnett Hathaway, even
I
Delorier,
love Garnett.
like, because he starts the shit. Yeah.
I listen. I wanted Delorier last year, but then they signed him for 4 years. It's like you can't give Delorier 4 years.
Oh,
You know,
100%. But next
you
year
know.
I'm hoping to see a fourth line of Lizotte, Grunstrom, and an asshole. I don't care who it is.
Well, I'm curious to see what Akil Thomas does tonight.
But see, and I love him. He's a frequent visitor to the store. Nicest kid, built like a brick.
Yeah,
But I don't want him being like he's good. Like we need a guy
yeah.
who, like a Rempe, he knows what his role is. I'm going to go out. I'm going to hit people. If they want to fight, I'll fight them. Uh, we need a guy who, like that 76 guy on Calgary. I'll never say his name right, but he's already had like 3 or 4 dangerous hits. Like he's out of control. Uh, but like the other night against the Kings, you knew when he was out there.
Yeah.
And he was hitting Doughty, he was hitting Lazat. Like we need that
Yeah.
because if we play Edmonton again, Kane and Perry, they're going to bully us again. And
Nope. And the guys they got from Anaheim.
yeah, Gudis, I wish we got him. I like England for what he is.
We had Kudus. By the way, Kudus was in our training camp.
Oh man, he's
I remember
really.
watching him, and they didn't sign him.
I mean, and now I understand he makes 4 million a year, which is probably a bit much for him.
Yeah.
But when Gudis is out there, your head's up, and he chirps. I don't want to see Kempe chirping. Like he's too good to us. Like
Yeah.
so I don't
Well,
think we're.
listen, that's Blake, and it's like he's made some good deals, and he's made some bad deals, and so it's like we were all on the in Lombardi we trust, and Lombardi had a
Yes.
game plan, and it's like it doesn't seem. I mean, look, I think he remember when Lombardi went all in on Lucic, and
Yeah.
that cost him his. I think that Blake went all in on PLD, and it's probably and if we don't get past the first round, it's going to cost him his job.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I liked Kovalchuk signing here. It didn't work out, but you know, just like Kaliev. What are your thoughts on Kaliev? Because I'm a fan of his. Like I see a skeleton of Brett Hull in him. Like, and I caused, you're familiar with causing a controversy on letsgokings.com. Uh, you really were the reason I found that board. And I had said on a thread that I see a loose skeleton of Brett Hull and Kaliev. And what I meant is both players when they were drafted, their skating's not the best, their effort level, their compete level's not the best. Now, I think it was Johnny Swade said, well, Earl Hull had 50 points in 57 games in Calgary before he got traded. Uh, but there's just something about Kaliev, like that one game against Anaheim where Gudis nailed him. And for the next 3 shifts, he turned into Thomas Sandstrom. The knee-to-knee hit, which I'm not for, but like there was a spunk there that is in that body. What is wrong with him?
Well, do you remember Daryl Sador?
Court number
He got
25.
he got booed right out of LA and he completely lost his confidence. His own fans were booing him. They trade him to Dallas and he becomes a star. Remember Robert Long?
Number
You know,
13.
couldn't hit the back of the net to save his life. They trade him. Like maybe it was Detroit or whatever, and all of a sudden he's scoring 30, 40 goals. That's going to be Kaliev. And, Kaliev played 5 minutes the other night and was -1. So it's like, he didn't, it's like he's just lost his confidence, with both coaches, by the way.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
mean,
like, I'm sure Hiller came in and said, he's like, come on, I'm going to give you a chance. And he's benched him, for, 6, 7 games.
I've never seen a player look so dejected. Like
Oh,
even when he scored the other night, uh,
it was
he
it was a lucky goal because the puck came right to him.
I mean, it was a great pass by Byfield, but like he didn't even look happy. Like he literally looked dejected. Like, I scored. I'm going back to the bench. I mean, when they all shake hands, the first guy who scores a goal, he
Yeah.
wasn't even looking at the players. He was just like, fuck this. But
Yeah.
I think you're right. Unfortunately for us, he's going to figure it out somewhere else. And
He
I
will.
just, I don't, I mean, we're just idiot fans. I understand that. But
Yeah.
on a team that needs secondary scoring, and I love Dolan, like, but I don't know how you play him over Kaliev. Maybe it's an effort level, something we don't see in practice. Maybe Kaliev's dogging it in practice. I don't know. Uh, but that's going to hurt when we see him.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Yeah. You put him on a line with Crosby and Malkin. you know, all of a sudden he's gonna score. But it's not here. It's just not happening here. They've tried him everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not happening. It's just defensively, it's just not happening. It's like Zegras. Zegras can score, but he can't play defense. So the new coach has benched him before he got hurt.
Well, it gets back to Dubois. Like I watch him now in every game, and
Yeah,
I've been to the
we
last.
all are.
But like I study him. I'm like, okay, I'll put on my idiot scout, and like if I'm an NHL scout, what do I see in him? And we've probably watched hockey the same amount of time, 40 years or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy who got me into hockey was Barry Beck on the Rangers, and then
Oh yeah. Sure.
talk about injury prone. He's my greatest. What if he
What
was
a great
healthy?
player.
You
Great
know, he
player.
just hurt from juniors, and then the Flatley hit. He was never the same. And like seeing him play on the Kings that his last season was, man, it was like seeing a remake of Porky's with different actors. It was just, man, this isn't the Barry Beck I remember. But I watched Dubois, and am I crazy? I've never seen a player skate with one hand on his stick so much. Like he's
Yeah.
like he's out there on a bag skate, just chilling. Like, am I crazy, or is like,
No, it's you see what we all see, but that's who you here's the thing. That the Kings have great scouts. That we trust Yannetti, and we don't know. I'd love to have an interview with Yannetti and just say, what was it when you were in that room, when they were coming to you and say, hey, we have a chance to get Dubois. What do you think? What were his thoughts? Because we all see the same thing. We saw it in Columbus, we saw it in Winnipeg, and it's just like, and you go, yeah, well, maybe McClellan can motivate him. It's like, didn't happen.
it's just so.
And you signed him to 8 years.
Ooh, we're not getting rid of that. Like he's with us. We're
Well,
not.
unless you take on somebody else's, headache.
I want to give him
You
one
know,
more year, like
I think they will
because
get him. So yeah,
I mean, traditionally he has a bad first year in every city he's been in. Columbus first year, oh, this is the guy we drafted third overall, and then he figured it out. Winnipeg, bad first year, but like I think every fans and the Kings look at that one series in Columbus against Tampa Bay when they had 61 wins and Columbus swept them because Dubois
yeah,
was an animal. Like
yeah,
I don't like even the other night against Minnesota, he glided into someone and sent them flying. Like it's just he shows you it's like the girlfriend who cheats. She shows you a month where she's faithful, and you're like, okay. And he gives you a game or two where it's like he's dominating, like size, speed, hands, good shot. Even comes back on defense, and then he has a game
yeah,
like he did the other night, like against Calgary. He looked like he was just chilling. Like,
yeah. It's like, I'm just gonna coast on this one.
but like he's got to care. Like you've worked with actors who probably are lazy, and I'm sure they care at some point. Like I'm just like tonight, I'm going to assume he's going to be fired up. You know,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
fans are going to be booing him. All right, fuck you guys. I'll show you. I'll give you something to boo for.
yeah.
So
And Velarde will be jacked up too.
yeah, he seems pretty bitter on the Kings organization, which
Yeah,
I don't know how you look at it. I look at it as, hey, they stuck with him for 5 years when they probably could have. And I see his point of view, like, oh, you guys got rid of me because I busted my ass for 5 years to try and make it into the league. F you guys. So, but I think last year against Edmonton, we needed him, and he's hurt. So I get why
yeah.
they did the trade at the time.
I
Uh,
do too. I thought, listen, at the time, great trade. There's an old saying, I can't remember who said it, but whoever gets the best player, usually wins. Can't really say that on the Eric Lindros trade, but it's usually whoever gets the best player wins the deal. And again, I mean, he's got as many points as Colton Sissons, for Christ's sake. I mean, he has as many points as Eklund, a rookie. I mean, it's like it's you got 10 games left, buddy. Time to step it up, or nine games left. It's like put up some points. Get a hat trick.
And if Dano's out, I don't know if Dano's playing tonight. This is
I don't
like
know, day to day.
I'm assuming because Thomas got called up, Dano's out again. But
Yeah,
this is the perfect opportunity for Dubois to say, "Hey, I haven't had the best season. Our number two guy's out. I'm gonna put the team on my back for a couple games, something."
yeah. And if he's playing with Moore and
Yeah,
who's the other one,
Arvidsson.
and yeah, Moore and Arvidsson, or Moore and Fiala.
Fiala,
You
that
know?
penalty he took the other night, I wanted
Oh,
to, it's like
dumb.
he's another guy like he shows you like a period where he's fast, he's feisty, and then he does a penalty. It didn't lose him the game. Like they were going to lose anyway, probably.
They were
But
going to lose, right? But it was like they just weren't. They were jacked up for tonight's game. It's like that's obvious. It's like, okay, how many more games can we coast? I mean, it's like they're playing a lot of games too.
yeah, and they're not. They're in that weird age group where the Kings aren't young, they're not old. I mean, certainly Doughty and Kopitar. I don't want to say they're
Yeah,
old. I would kill to be their age, but for a pro athlete, they're old. I wouldn't mind seeing Thomas on Dubois' line. Just hey, maybe Thomas sparks him. Like, hey, this young kid's like out skating me. I better get it together. Uh, I don't think he thinks like that. Let him do the work. I'll
yeah.
be in
No,
the slot.
Thomas and Lazat will be interesting. So anyway,
All right. Well, before we go, I've always fancied myself a casting director. No, I mean, I think I told you this a while ago. Like, I'm fascinated by who becomes a star and who doesn't. Like, uh, I mean, remember when I saw the movie Streets of Fire, I thought, wow, Michael Pare is going to be the next big star. Just as a fan, I'm looking at him going, he's got that kind of smoldering Clint Eastwood vibe, from the
yeah.
standpoint of the vocal delivery. Great looking guy. I thought he was a good actor. Why didn't he make it? And by make it, I mean, why didn't he get to that next level?
It's there's some people who are meant for it, and there's others that aren't. I remember I had said something to his agent one time, and his agent, Ed LaMotta, used to be my agent. So we had a very personal relationship. And I said something to his assistant about Michael, and Ed called me up and chewed me out left and right. And I was like, no, the truth is that he's just not. He's a guy with he's PLD. He's got all the potential in the world, but it's just not all there. It's like you don't know what happened. It's just like, and I've seen that shoot in my 30 years of casting. But you look at a film like, The Notebook, it's like 20th anniversary, still holding up,
Right.
to this day. You know, it's 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 very strange, the ones that do make it, and the ones that don't, you
Well, I
know.
had I don't know if you remember the actress Jenny Wright. Um,
Yeah, yeah, sure.
like I look at the start of her career where she was the lead in The World According to Garp,
Yeah,
Pink Floyd's movie The Wall. Then she did one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies, The Wildlife, with the great Hart Bachner, um, which kind of flopped. And then she was in an episode of Crime Story because Michael Mann loved her. She
yeah.
actually told me she turned down Miami Vice because she didn't like the way women were portrayed on the show. And
Mhm.
then she did one great independent film with John Glover, The Chocolate War, and then nothing. Like I thought, wow, she's gonna be a star. Like she's got that perfect blend of pretty and cute, great actress, and then now she's living on a goat farm in New York, like totally gone from the
Mhm.
business. Like
Yeah,
and then you see
There's
other
a lot
people.
of those. There's
Yeah,
a lot of those. There's a lot of those. Earl, I was throwing out like all my old notebooks from my garage, and I was going through like, oh yeah, whatever happened to, and I look them up on IMDb, and they start, Michael Sheffling, you know, uh,
yeah.
another, had all the talent in the world. It's gone. He's making furniture in Pennsylvania.
I mean,
It's
it's just like it's 16 Candles. You're like, okay, he's got that smoldering, like, I don't know, this that great looking guy. He could act, in terms of
Yep,
a teenage romp movie. There's one of my favorite. You ever see the movie The Idolmaker?
of course. I auditioned for it
Wait, what part did you audition for?
for the lead for the kid. I
That's one of
auditioned for
my favorite movies of all time, and
Ray
uh, Ray Sharkey.
Sharkey. Yeah,
I mean, horrible
yeah. I
humor,
met. I
but
Yeah. I read with Ray for that movie.
because that movie, we go back to the first thing we talked about, like, and I always thought they could do a remake of the. I hate remakes, but if they were going to do a remake, I thought they could do it with stand up, where you have the guy who's the writer, but he has no stage presence. So he makes some, like, I don't know, some great looking guy, like a Matt Rife type, like just chiseled, good looking guy, and he gives him the jokes to tell.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah,
but there was not Peter Gallagher, but the other lead, Paul Land, who
yeah,
was the first guy Ray Sharkey made. And the same thing. I look at this guy, great looking guy, totally believable as the scummy guy trying to, you know, do whatever with girls on the road, and leaves Ray Sharkey because he got too big of a head. And that guy literally did one movie after that. I think it was like Hot Dog the movie, or like some crazy, those 80s, like, surf movies or ski movies. It was just TNA. And then
right.
he quit the business. Like Shefflin just, I think he ended up owning a moving business or something.
Yeah,
It just blows me away. It makes me sad, like when I see people with that kind of potential. And I'm sure there's people like that today. These younger actors who, I don't know, do one big, I don't know, High School Musical or something, and
yeah. And then they're
that's
gone.
it.
And then they're gone. And then they're gone. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. And by the way, and I have to say that the show that you were on that nobody watched was one of the best shows ever. It's like that and uh the Studio 60, which
Right.
nobody watched either, were so well written. And it's like I was sad to see your show. I mean, I know they kept it going and they loved the show, even though nobody was watching, but it was so fucking good, man. And it's like everybody on that show was so fucking good,
Oh,
you
I mean,
know?
the table reads to see Melissa Leo. It was like I was getting my own personal acting class in the table read.
Yeah,
Like, she
yeah,
was the only actress on that show who, during the table read, she had already memorized the lines. So she wouldn't look
yeah.
down at the script. She would look at you and say her
Mhm.
lines. And like, she's intimidating. Like,
She was brilliant. She was brilliant.
I mean, she was perfect as Mitzi. Like, I
Yep.
mean, uh, she came to set like kind of in a bad mood. Like, she was in character. And that was like my first look on the inside of a show that, wow, this show should be not necessarily huge, but like this show should be on for a lot of seasons.
Yeah.
And I think the first season we were on after Twin Peaks, so it was a good lead in. Second season was Ray Donovan. So,
Yeah.
and like all the comics on the show were established headlining
Yeah.
comics.
And they were terrific actors too. It's like, wow.
And even like Jake Lacey
Yeah,
on
he's
the
blowing
opposite,
up.
he was he would ask me, "Hey Earl, you're a comic. What would you do?" And I would tell, like, he was interested in how do I be the best comic on camera that I can be. Like, he was really into it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it just, I don't know. It's we could go on for another 5 hours about shows that should have been big, and then you see some show like Big Brother that's on like 30 seasons, like or Survivor, which I watch every episode. Vanderpump Rules. It's on like
Yeah. Oh my God, really?
14 seasons with
I
three
can't,
spin-off shows. And I'm
yeah, I can't do it. I can't do it.
I mean,
You know.
it's just why does like I remember a show Ray Liotta did in about 2006. It was called Smith. Um,
Yeah.
and it was a great cast: Virginia Madsen, Simon Baker, uh, Johnny, I think Miller, and it was a show about a bank robbing crew. Basically, like before Animal Kingdom, it was essentially Animal
Right.
Kingdom with Ray Liotta. Uh,
Right.
5 episodes. It was a 6 episode mid-season thing. They didn't even air the sixth episode. They just said forget it. Like,
Yeah.
what makes a show like I'm Dying Up Here fail and reality shows go for 40 seasons? What's the thinking of Hollywood?
It's you know what? It's too smart. It's too smart. It's like Studio 60 was too smart.
Right.
I'm Dying Up Here was too smart. It was way too smart for its audience.
What is
It's like, yes, you can have a show like West Wing, and it's just which is a smart show. But then it's like it's like Hollywood does not tailor to middle America.
right?
Hollywood tailors to Hollywood. And if you tailor to middle America, that's why the motorcycle shows, the MC, and the other one whose the name is escaping
Sons
me.
of Anarchy and the
Sons
Mayans.
of Anarchy, yeah. I mean, that's why it's like that and zombie shows, are so popular. Walking Dead, they're so show. It's like middle America. That's who's watching those shows. I'm Dying Up Here is too smart. It was too smart.
Well, I think the number one complaint I got from my friends would be like, Earl, we love that you are in it, but the show's not very funny. I'm like, well, it's not a sitcom,
It's
you
not
know.
supposed to be. It's the dark side
I mean, if
of the
somebody
of business.
you've been in the business, a very long time, like I'm around so much death, unfortunately, and I probably lose 3 comedy friends a year, mostly to
Mhm.
suicide. Um,
Yeah.
it's not a funny business. And I
If
thought,
you can, if you can, if you, I've always said, if you can make people laugh, you can do anything, because that's the hardest thing in the world, is to get up on stage where it's the only job where people talk back to you and give you shit, you know, and you have to keep going and try and make people laugh,
yeah, I
and
mean,
it is the hardest job ever. And I remember a story when I first came out to LA. I was dating Claudia Lano, who was Mark Lano's daughter.
right,
And so Mark, for those of you who don't know, he ran the Improv with Bud Friedman. And so I would literally hang out every night, at the Improv, and watch Larry David, Jerry Seinfeld, Robin Williams, Billy Crystal, Sandra Bernhardt, Rick Overton,
oh,
all these guys working on their craft, working on, honing their craft, and watching them perfect who they became.
right,
So it was a very interesting lesson for me. So now when I watch, I go, I can look and go, okay, not ready, okay, hasn't perfected, okay. Oh, I'm watching this. Well, one of my friends is this little person, Pancho Moeller, and Pancho started out not funny. Now he's fucking hysterical, and he's killing it. And I'm like, he's got something now. He's got an edge now, and now he's got a thing like what's that guy Blue? Who's the
oh, Josh Blue,
yeah, Josh Blue. I mean, it's just like he worked it, man. He worked it and perfected it.
Yeah,
and it's like, and it, because when it works, man, wow. But it's like, how many doesn't work? I mean, look, I hate every time I went to the freaking, it was, I'm watching Dane Cook, way early on. I
oof,
hated Dane Cook, you know, but Dane worked on his craft. It took him, 15, 20 years, but
sure,
he finally worked it so that he was selling out Madison Square Garden,
yeah,
and having I mean, I worked on Good Luck Chuck, sorry. Um, but he worked it, and it's like he kept at it, kept at it, kept at it. So it's like, that's the hard part about, the comics. Even the guys on your show. It's like, Griffin, God, I've seen Griffin great, and I've seen Griffin bomb,
yeah. No,
um
I mean, like, well, I think the problem now with comedy is, you know, I think after Matt Rife went viral with crowd work videos, now everyone, I'm good at crowd work too, and like, there's no fucking crowd. You're playing in front of three people.
right.
So I think, and I'm a fan of Matt's. I don't know him really, but like, he he couldn't get booked in LA the last couple years, only on his
Yeah,
own show at the Laugh Factory. So, a lot of people, I think in comedy, 20 years ago, people hated Dane Cook. He's not that funny. He's all puff and no circumstance. And then it was Dalia, was the new
yeah,
basically Dane Cook. And now Matt Rice, the one getting all the vitriol of, oh, fuck this guy. He's not funny. He's just good looking. But like, he worked his ass off, man. I'm a fan of hard work.
yeah, yeah.
So
You know it. You've seen it. You know, it's like Bobby Lee. How many years he's been doing it? The guys that you work with at the store.
yeah, I mean,
It's. I mean, I saw Bobby Lee when he's first coming out.
well, I think that, in comedy, like, there is a bit of ageism that I've faced. But I think if you're genuinely funny, you can crack through the ageism.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, you're cracking through it in the music field. Like, I'm sure some people would be like, ah, dude, you're in your 50s, man. It's a little late to become a pop star. Uh,
right, right.
and, I get, my good friend Bonnie Lidke.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, of course.
she's like my comedy guardian angel. And she's like, girl, she's honest, which I love. I love honesty. She's like, girl, I can't sign you because, you're a little past the people cash, the Zac Efrons and people like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I want to help you. I'm going to set you up with this 25-year-old manager. She's obnoxious. She's kind of a bitch, but that's who you need. And this manager calls me and goes, listen, bro, I know Bonnie's vouching for you, but frankly, you're just too old and I can't mold you into what I want. I'm like, but I'm funny. She's like, I can't deny your funniness, but I don't want funny. I want someone I can mold into a character, of, the wacky neighbor on the next sitcom. I can't,
Right.
you're already your own character. I need someone. And she mentioned Matt Rife. I need someone like him who's, you know, not super. I mean, he's established from, he's playing theaters, but like, I can tell him act a certain way and I can mold him into that. I can't mold. You're mold. But I appreciated her honesty. Is
Yeah,
it
yeah.
like when you were casting, did like, I'm going to throw out a name because he's probably my favorite actor, John Glover.
Love John Glover.
Like, he started out as kind of the good looking bad guy in most films, 52
Yep.
pickup and like someone like John Glover or someone in his age range. At what point do you say, hey, man, the only thing I can send you out on are dad roles or the evil uncle?
The funny thing about John Glover is that, and I love John Glover, and he's turned me down on every film I ever offered.
Because he didn't like the role, or like he
Whatever it was. I mean, it was, John. He was at the height of his career, so the roles might have been too small. But we offered him. I believe we offered him Con Air. He turned us
really
down. Yeah,
wait
he
wait
turned.
I can you I know I don't want to put him on blast, but like, what would he have been Cyrus the Virus in Con Air?
No, no, he would have been one of the guys in it, and I think it was a role that was too small for him, but it was a good role. It's like, look, it's Bruckheimer. He's going to pay you a lot of money, but he was making bank at the time, and his agent was my agent, so it was just like I was like, so Steve, what's the deal? What's the deal? How come he keeps turning me down? He's like, he's John, and God bless him. John does the roles that he wants to do, and this is what I love about Nicolas Cage. So I talk to Nick, all the time, and I have these great roles for him, but it's not enough for him to sink his teeth into,
Right,
and I get that from actors. There's a movie I did, and I offered it to Matthew McConaughey, and McConaughey was kind enough to call me from his plane, and say, hey, I love the movie. There's just not enough for me to sink my teeth into for this character. And I get that a lot. We get that a lot. There's just not enough. I'm doing it right now. I'm casting a Nick Cassavetes film, and it's just like there's just not enough for me to sink my teeth into.
I mean,
So that's what happens with actors. It's not about the money sometimes. It's just how can I play? How much fun can I have? You
right.
know?
Well, I hope you can cast Tex Cobb in something, man. That guy is a gem who should be, he's probably in his 70s. I've tried to track
Yeah.
him down
God.
because one, I was a fan of his boxing career, which I think people forget how good
Did
of a
he
boxer.
die?
No, Tex Cobb, that's not good when we're talking about is he alive or dead? Tex Cobb is
Yeah.
alive. And
Okay.
because I think he's got such a fascinating life from his
Oh
boxing
yeah. Yeah.
to, and people kind of forget he was actually a better kickboxer than he was a boxer. And then his acting on, I mean, Raising Arizona, Miami Vice, and then he just disappeared. And I have a friend of mine who's a federal judge. I don't want to say his name, but he will be on the Supreme Court one day. Like he is the most straight laced, no skeletons, and we're hockey. He's a huge hockey fan. And I said, listen, Judge, I really want to get Tex Cobb on my podcast. Can you find him for me? I mean, this is a guy who's like you in Hollywood. If he wants to find you, he can find you.
He'll find you. Yeah.
He can't find them. He said, Earl, I've tried for 6 months. I've reached out to all my friends on the NYPD. I've reached out to my friends in the DEA, which I'm sure the DEA knows who Tex Cobb is. Uh, he's off the grid. Like he had a nice acting career, and
Yeah.
bam, he's just gone. I'm just blown away that people like Jenny and the people, Michael Shevley just builds furniture, and like it's a brutal business, isn't it, Matt?
I always like to say I've survived this industry. I've had a very long, wonderful, prosperous career, and I've survived. It's like I've made a good living, in this wonderful, wacky industry, and I've seen everything. Yeah, and it's like the Me Too movement. I go, yeah, I get it. I've seen it. I was there. I've worked for with the people that got Me Too'd, and it's uh it's unfortunately well, it's fortunately that things are coming to fruition, and it's changing again, with streaming. It's like, remember, we loved Blockbuster. God, did we love Blockbuster.
Oh my God. I mean,
And now it's streaming, so it changes. And they'll figure it out. Hollywood will figure it out.
do
And
you know how many Michael Dudikoff films I rented?
yeah, now you can watch them all on streaming for free.
There's another guy. Like I know you got other things to do, but like Michael Dudikoff was like American Ninja, and he was in with the Golden Globus franchise, and
Yep.
Bachelor Party with Tom Hanks, and
My
then he
God, we're
just
dating each other. Jesus Christ.
and the Me Too stuff. I have a Me Too story, but like we won't get into that. But I will say this guy was pretty high up at Fox casting. I'll tell you his name off the air, but he he tried to lure me in with, "Hey, do you want to meet Brittany Murphy?" I'm like, "Yeah." And sure enough, we go into the table read of King of the Hill. People probably thought I was his boyfriend. He introduces me to Brittany Murphy, and then he tried something in the office that I rebuked, and then I rebuked him a second time, and then I started watching the shows he casted, and there was always a role as like the good-looking FedEx guy, the
Uh-huh.
good, the good-looking hotel clerk, one line. Oh man, I know how he got that part. And I didn't want, I mean, didn't you have, we'll end on this, a Me Too story, but weren't you close to being the lead in Endless Love instead of Martin Hewitt?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean,
This is a true story, and I'll probably get in trouble for this. And this is like out of all the interview, this is the one that this is what. No, Franco Zeffirelli. I met on the film, and I think it was that film. Is that the Zeffirelli film, Endless
well,
Love?
I believe you told me it was, and it was good. So
Yeah, whatever it was, and Zeffirelli. This was right after, shortly after, the Bertolucci film came out, and he's literally said to me flat out, he goes, "Matthew, you come to my room upstairs, the part is yours." And I'm like, "No, thank you." So I was like,
did you think about it for a second?
"No, no, wasn't my thing, wasn't my thing." But I
'Cause-
did, but I did. Now I'll give it. I'll give you a fun story. So I got cast in No Way Out with Kevin Costner. And I remember going to the hotel in Washington, and it was this gigantic freaking room with a jacuzzi tub in the middle. And I went downstairs to I remember I went downstairs to check in. I was only supposed to be there for I think a week. And it was like, okay, so we have you checking in today and we have you checking out a month later. I was like, no, 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 I'm only supposed to be here a week. They're like, no, we have you here for a month. I was like, oh, okay. So I went to the producer, who is this very, very attractive female, and I was like, hey, I'm only supposed to be here a week, but you have me here for a month. And she looks at me and she goes, is that the way you want it? And I went, oh shit. oh, oh, oh shit. And so it was obvious why I got gassed. But nothing ever happened. But I think that she wanted something to happen. I was good looking back then, Earl. I was good looking
Good
back
looking
then.
now, you got a full head of hair. I,
Let's going back.
I mean, I know the angles, not to tilt my head.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, how often, obviously you hear about men, Harvey Weinstein and women and P. Diddy and women. How often is it that female casting directors or female executive goes after a young man? Like you never really hear that. Does that happen?
Yeah, because it does, but it's like you don't, as a dude, it's like, oh, are you a pussy?
Right.
Why wouldn't you? It's a different criteria. It's just like, you know, being a woman in this industry is so freaking tough.
Sure.
It's like it's just brutal. I mean, it's like the record industry. You read all the books, from Blondie, from Deborah Harry's book. It's like Jesus, all the things that happened to her, Pat Benatar, and it's just like it's no different in Hollywood. It's just brutal being a female. I'm sure it is for my girlfriend at the time. She told me a story where this casting director, gave her a ride to her car and whipped out his wiener. And it's just like I wanted to kill him. He got me too, thank God.
Right.
Because he'd done it to somebody else. But it's like now, because everything is so tight, it's like you can't do that crap anymore. I mean, look what happened to what's Les Moonves.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, whoa, he did what he did, and that cost him what, $150 million bonus.
Oh, I mean, the money, I mean,
Holy mackerel. I mean, but he did what he did, you
Yeah,
know,
I mean, it's definitely.
and it's like, yeah, so in answer to the question, does that happen female wise? Probably not as often, but I imagine it does, you
Well, I'd
know.
like their phone numbers. Like, I need to start working. Matt, this I could keep all these actors' names coming into my head now, but I know
Oh,
you.
I know. I hope we haven't bored your audience. I hope they haven't tuned out.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at Martin Hewitt on IMDb right now. You know, once again, this goes to Michael Pare. You know, Endless Love's his first movie. I thought he was really good in it, like um, believable, and you know, that this guy's the uh, next big star, and then his career's over by 87. He's doing like these Showtime TNA movies, and then
Yeah.
did something called Ground Zero in 2000, and then done. Like,
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not saying this happened to Martin, but if it happened to me, did it happen to Martin? Could he live with himself? That's the other thing is that, do you compromise yourself, to for your big break? And you have to live with yourself, and whether you're a male or female. And it's I always say I don't believe in regrets. I believe we make choices and we all make choices. I mean, look, I made a lot of stupid choices, in my career, but that's topic for another podcast. Um, but it's tough. We have to live with ourselves. That's the bottom line.
I
You
mean,
know.
I guess I didn't want it bad enough. Like, I look back at this.
Earl, sometimes you just gotta pony up.
I mean, I look back at how this guy could have helped me, and like he kind of flirted with, "Hey, I can get you on King of the Hill. You know, you got a deep voice. You know, they always need that."
Yeah, Earl, there was a casting director who really did. I know she liked me, and probably wanted more. And she did, put me in a couple of films. And I remember one day she called me up. She had a falling out with her assistant, who was a good friend of mine. And she called me up and she was like, if I don't want you talking to her anymore. I'm like, what? She's like, you can't be friends with her anymore. I'm like, are you out of your freaking mind?
Right.
You can't ask me that. And then all of a sudden, I was done. It's like she never brought me in anymore, never cast me, in the rest of her career. After, hiring me 3 times, and being my champion, it's just like it's a weird industry both ways. I mean, I've been, you know, I'm so lucky. I mean, I always had a female partner, my late partner Nancy. Um, so I never gotten in my 30 years of casting, never got into trouble once. You know, it's
Oh
like I
yeah.
always had a female in the room. I mean, look, when we did Good Luck Chuck, Mark, the director, was like, look, I need to have natural breasts. I can't have any fake breasts. So you got to audition breasts. And I'm like, Nancy, Judy, I let all the girls do it. You know, it's,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah. And
it's much more comfortable. It's like, they see a guy in the room. They're like, oh my God. So I was like, listen, no, I'm not going to be in the room. It'll be the girls in the room,
well, that's the
you know?
thing in this era, like with the I can't call it X, but with Twitter, one tweet about, hey, Matt Berry was in a room with this actress, or
Yeah.
like even the other night at the Comedy Store, I'm closing out the show Saturday night. It's packed. I walk back there and there's just this random girl in the green room by herself. And like I walked in, she shut the door behind me. I'm not saying she wanted to do something, but I'm like, hey, you got to get out of here. Like, I don't feel comfortable. I don't know you. But, now 10 years ago,
Was
I
she a
would have been
chuckle
like,
fucker?
I don't know. I have no idea who this girl was. I don't know how she got back there, but she could send out a tweet on Sunday. Earl Skakel tried to blank me,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
comics don't have the greatest reputation, and she was attractive, so
Yep.
I hope it's not believable. If people heard that, they would.
No, but it's like look, my lawyer made me put a camera in my
Right.
studio. I have to record everything. and I let everybody who comes in here say, I'm recording everything, so, don't say anything inappropriate. I'll try not to say anything appropriate, because it's like, Bill Burr had that great bit that he did where he said, I'm with this girl, and and she's like, no, stop it, you're being bad, no, stop it. And the judge reads it. She said, no, stop it, you're being bad, no, stop.
Yeah.
you
Well,
know
it reminds me of the Dice Clay joke, and I hate doing other people's material, but he was talking about a hookup gone wrong. And he's like, "Hey, I bought you pizza. You knew I wanted to fuck you." Like it was just like, so I mean, Matt, I could talk to you. We could do a whole podcast about Golden Globus films, but
and yeah, Menachem and Yoram, baby.
well, because
and
my
then and then Eli, and then Eli Samaha.
oh my God, that guy's because like my favorite, it's weird. Most people's favorite film is, Gone with the Wind or Casablanca or, Schindler's List or, you know, I love 52 Pickup. It's just, um, and what a cast, like John Glover, Clarence Williams, Roy Scheider, Anne Margaret. uh,
Yeah.
And, the movie came out a year before Fatal Attraction, and they're basically the same plot, with a little variance. I think 52 Pickup was a little more in the porn world than the business world. And Fatal Attraction, a year later, blows up, still talked about 40 years later. And 52
Yep.
Pickup was kind of a loose bomb, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
And there was a documentary on Netflix. I forget what it was called, but it was about Golden Globus. And
Mm.
52 Pickup was brought up. It was like, why didn't this movie do better? And I think Golan was like, we did not put any money into any non-Chuck Norris films. And
Right.
at least they made me feel better that it wasn't a shitty movie.
I can't remember which Chuck Norris film it was, but whatever, the bad guy, we joked about this all the time. There was like a scene in the movie, and the bad guy goes, "Attack them through the flames."
That sounds like a Henry Silva line, but
Oh my God,
I mean,
the
not
great.
just what popped into my head right now. Jan Michael Vincent, our generation's
Yeah.
our generation's Brad Pitt.
Right.
Big
Right.
wins.
Well, he had his troubles, his
Oh,
obvious troubles.
I mean, we'll circle back to this being a hockey conversation. I used to see him at the Forum downstairs when they used to sell beer right outside the Kings locker room. It was crazy. And he was down there asking people to buy him beers, and like it was so sad to see, like I'm straight, you're straight, but Jan Michael Vincent was a beautiful man. Like
Yeah.
if you
Yeah, he
take
was.
Jan Michael Vincent saying Big Wednesday, which is another favorite film of mine, just John Milius, it's like that's another podcast. But
Right, right, right.
and then to see him at the Forum, like bloated, greasy hair, like he looked
Yep.
homeless. So that makes me sad when our heroes get old and become
Yeah,
alcohol.
another one, and it's like another, great actor, Jeff Fahey. Talk about Jenny Wright. Jenny Wright and Jeff Fahey in The Lawnmower Man.
Oh, I mean, it's a small world. Jeff Fahey used to have parties at the Bellage Hotel, which is now the London, and he was under the assumed name Tyree. I don't know what that meant, but and let's just say I learned a lot about myself at Jeff Fahey parties. Like it was just like Mickey Rourke, and Mickey Rourke had this sidekick named Santa Fe, who was, I don't know what purpose I can guess what purpose Santa Fe served.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I mean Jeff Fahey. I was just watching Miami Vice where he was in a great episode. It's like, what happened to this guy? Like,
Yeah.
like Sam Jones, like starts off as Flash Gordon and then just gone. Like, so I mean, dude, I gotta stop because I like all these names are coming into my head now, and you got shit to do. Where can people find you? Buy the album, stream the album, this is plug your shit, Matt.
It's at Good Tunes Music slash or backslash Big Mouth Barry. Good Tunes Music, Big Mouth Barry, or just look
Okay.
up Big Mouth Barry.
On Twitter.
The videos are on YouTube under Big Mouth Barry. You can watch the videos for free. Um, but again, it's the album is $10, you know.
And I
So
believe
it's
on YouTube, you can send now super thanks. So you can
yeah.
get paid for, if, this is the way to support, not that you're a small artist. I say the same thing about me. Uh,
No,
you,
I'm a small artist. You know, let's call a spade a spade. You know.
so you can pay for stuff on YouTube if you like the video. You can super thank you. I don't know what, I think it's $5, $10, but you can basically buy the album on YouTube and listen to the videos and then buy it, you know, on other sites that Matt gets the money from. Like,
Yeah, you know, look, you know, it's very, very difficult to make money on YouTube unless you have like a million followers. You know, they have their criteria, and you know, it's I'm just trying to. And thank you for helping me to, you know, spread the word and hopefully a few people, you know, listen to the music. You know, I'm getting good reviews from the UK. Lots of people are digging the music, and you know, I again, I had a great time making it and doing the videos. There's if you look at the the Joe Strummer video, I went a little nuts and I decided that I wanted to go shoot in the exact locations that the Clash shot Rock the Casbah.
oh
And so I
wow.
flew so there were a couple of people on YouTube that had like literally had the locations and the hotels. And so I shot at the same hotel. I shot at the same locations. They're all changed now, but literally the exact same locations. I found the exact same oil derrick in a little town in Oklahoma. So we shot, you know, basically the same shots as we did. Flew to New York and shot at the Joe Strummer mural. So again, it's it's for all of you out there, you know, don't talk about it, just do it, you know, and just have a great time doing it. And you know, there's an old saying, you never see a Hertz truck following a hearse. So you might as well die broke, you know.
Yeah, but you don't have to. You're doing this because you love doing it. Like you could
I do.
rest on your, you're very well known and established casting director. You don't have to follow your music dream. You could just be fucking lazy or not lazy, but you could just be I'll just do the casting thing. So to the people listening, support Matt. Like we all have a dream. My dream is to be the first 55-year-old comic to get new faces, but it's probably not happening. Well, now that
Yeah,
JF
but you know, yeah, but you know what? Look at Ann Dowd's story. You know, Ann Dowd, you know, won the Golden Globe and she won the Emmy for a Handmaid's Tale. You know, and they were like newcomer Ann Dowd. She goes, guys, I've been doing this since I was 20 years old, and now I'm getting recognized in my 50s. You know,
yeah, I mean,
and God bless her. She wrote a great article in Vanity Fair, one of those magazines. You know, about you know the struggles and her rise, and it's like, you know, she stuck it out. She stuck it out long enough,
I
and
mean,
it's
that's half the battle I find. It's just outlasting your friends and like, yeah, I know it's kind of hacky and like, come on, man, you don't really believe that. But one of my favorite actors is G.D. Spradlin. He didn't start till he was
I love GD.
like,
Yeah,
North Dallas 40.
North Dallas 40. Yeah,
That's my favorite sports movie of all time, just
yeah.
because.
I think I put him in Cobb. Uh, I
Okay.
got to work with him. Yeah,
And
it's like
what's
good.
the movie he did with Robbie Benson, One on One, where
Yeah,
he's basically playing the same. He's a basketball coach, but like he was like a Bobby Knight type, character. And so like mine and Matt's goal to people listening to this is follow your dreams, man.
yeah.
Because the people who criticize you, they're just mad you're doing something you want to do. Like they don't have the
Right.
balls to follow their dreams. So
Yeah, and it's people talk trash on X/Twitter, and it's just like you just take it with a grain of salt. You just laugh. It's just like some people are gonna like it, some people are not. You just and just enjoy life, man. It's like you said. It's like people are committing suicide, and it's sad. My One of my best friends just committed suicide. She just couldn't take it anymore, and I'm just like, and it's sad. It's just like because life is just so wonderful. It's like all these things that we get to do. Nick Cassavetes has a great saying. He goes, and I said this to you, Earl. He's like, how many sunsets do we have left?
yeah.
You know,
Oh,
how many times are we going to see the sunset? You know,
I mean,
if you think about it, not a lot.
I'm around.
So
I don't even get sad anymore, sadly. Like, and it's not just unsuccessful comics or actors. Like you look at Brody Stevens. Brody hit every measuring tool that comics would say is the ultimate in success, from Hangover and big movies with Todd Phillips. And as you know, I mean, audience warm-up guys they make tons of money. And
yeah,
Brody was probably the number one audience warm-up guy, and TV shows, stand-up success, and he still wasn't happy. So
yeah,
you can imagine if Brody killed himself, what a comic who isn't achieving any of that, like what their mental state, or an actor who um, gets passed up, for a big part. And, like I was watching the Star Wars auditions, and, they were like the original, the first three, which were the middle three. I don't know what Lucas was on, but he was on the good powder back then. And they were showing like William Catt and Perry, is it Perry Lang?
Very
No.
Lang.
And they were up for um, Han Solo.
Han
Um,
Solo, yeah,
and like they both, I mean, I'm sure they both to this day go, fuck, I could have been Han Solo. But, and I wouldn't blame them. I mean, William Katz had a nice career, and, Perry as well. But like every Harrison Ford film they see is like, fuck, that could have been me, man.
yeah.
So
But it's like if it's not your fate. I mean, it was down to me and Johnny Depp for 21 Jump Street. And this and I was like, I'm a better actor than Johnny, and I was back then, but goddamn was he good looking.
I mean,
And
I love
so
it.
and so
Yeah.
and it's just like it's whatever fate is. It's whatever the person upstairs has in store for us. And you just go, okay, you know, okay, you know.
Yeah, I
I mean,
mean,
I remember. Oh God, what was the actor's name? I lost out on him 3 jobs in a row. It was me and him 3 jobs in a row, and I was just like, I quit. I quit. I can't do this anymore. You know, it's just like because I've lost like the third, like, and the one I really wanted to do was a Molly Ringwald film, and he got the Dermot Mulroney. That's who beat me out.
oh yeah.
3 jobs in a row. It was me and Dermot Mulroney. And I'm like, man, and I was like, I can't, I can't take this.
I mean,
But
you have to go. I like, how many voiceover gigs I lose out to Dylan McDermott, like, because and I get it. He's obviously 100 times the name I am, but like, it's usually between me, him, and that great black actor Billy Brown, who's like, he was like the bad guy in Sons of Anarchy, and then he's 10 Ways to Commit Murder. Like he's the goat. He's like a black Clint Eastwood. He's got that gravelly voice, and
yeah,
every single audition I lose is to those guys. But I'm not trying to get all Tony Robbins on people, but you just have to, you have to go, you just have to have alligator skin and just, I'll get the next one. And then you don't, I'll get
yep,
the next one. And like
yep.
like,
You
I'm
just keep
such a
going.
fan of what you're doing to be successful in many other fields, and then to revive a music career 40 years later, when
Yep.
it's a young person's game. I mean, Taylor Swift is considered old. She's 34. Like,
Yeah.
Britney Spears is considered archaic. She's what, 40 maybe? Now
Yeah.
she's
40, 41, 42. Yeah.
acting a little nutty, so that probably adds to her reputation. But like, you can be successful in this business in your 50s, starting a new venture. You believe in yourself. I know how talented you are. You know how great I am. No, I'm just kidding.
Yep.
So please, everyone, follow Matt. I'll post all the links, and we're going to figure out how to debut Oh Lord Save Me. I just don't want to get deleted off of YouTube. They're so weird with music and rights. Um, I'll figure that out. And Matt, dude, you're the best. I know we're both going to watch the game. Let's go PLD, man. Have a good
Yeah.
game, you lazy bastard.
Yeah. 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 So
All right.
beautiful. Thank you again, Earl. It's always a great.
Oh, dude,
But I got to admit, I do miss the sticky couch.
tell me about it. If you only knew what you were sitting on. Now, we haven't ended the meeting. Let me end the meeting.